The first night in my new apartment, I heard it. A faint whisper, like someone murmuring my name through the walls. I thought it was my imagination, but by the third night, I knew I wasn't alone. My name's Lucas, and I just moved to a small coastal town for a fresh start after a rough year. The apartment was in an old Victorian building, all peeling paint and creaky stairs, but it was cheap and close to the beach. The landlord, a wiry old man named Mr. Harrow, warned me the place had character. I figured he meant the drafty windows and warped floors. I didn't realize he meant something else. The building was a maze of narrow hallways and mismatched doors, housing a mix of tenants, mostly retirees, and a few young artists like me. My unit was on the top floor, tucked into a corner with a view of the foggy coastline. The walls were thin, and I could hear my neighbors' muffled conversations, their footsteps, their lives bleeding through. But the whisper was different. It wasn't a neighbor. It was closer, inside my apartment, like it came from the walls themselves. I first noticed it while unpacking. I was arranging books on a shelf when I heard it. Lucas, soft, almost tender, like a lover's whisper. I froze, heart pounding, and checked every room. Nothing. Just me, my boxes, and the faint smell of mildew. I laughed it off. New place, new nerves. But that night, it happened again. I was in bed, the lights off, when the whisper came, clearer this time. Lucas, stay. I shot upright, fumbling for my phone's flashlight. The apartment was empty, the door locked, the windows sealed. The next day, I asked my neighbor, Mrs. Callahan, a chatty widow with a penchant for knitting, if she'd ever heard anything strange. She chuckled, her needles clicking. Old buildings talk, dear. Creaks, groans, maybe a ghost or two. She winked, but her smile faltered when I mentioned the whisper. Just keep your doors locked, she said, her voice tight, and don't go poking around. I tried to brush it off, but the whispers grew bolder. They came at odd hours, midnight, 3 a.m., sometimes at dawn, always my name, sometimes with words like, stay or listen. I started sleeping with the lights on, my old baseball bat by the bed. I checked the vents, the pipes, even the crawl space above the ceiling. Nothing but dust and cobwebs. On the fifth night, I woke to a new sound, scratching, like nails dragging across wood. It was coming from the wall behind my bed. I pressed my ear against it, holding my breath. The scratching stopped, replaced by a low, guttural hum, like someone singing under their breath. I yanked my bed away from the wall, expecting to find a loose board or a trapped animal. Instead, I found a small, jagged hole, no bigger than a quarter, hidden behind the headboard. It was too dark to see inside, but a cold draft seeped out, carrying the faint scent of something metallic, like blood. I called Mr. Harrow the next morning. He showed up grumbling and peered at the hole. Probably just settling, he muttered, but his hands shook as he taped a piece of cardboard over it. Don't mess with it. Old buildings, you know. He left without another word, and I noticed he avoided looking at the wall. That night, the whispers were louder, angrier. Lucas, don't. I didn't sleep. Instead, I sat on the couch, staring at the cardboard patch, my bat across my lap. Around 2 a.m., the cardboard twitched, like something pushed it from the other side. I grabbed a screwdriver and, against every instinct, pried it off. The hole was still there, but now it was bigger, wide enough to fit my hand. I shone my flashlight inside. The beam caught something, a glint, like eyes reflecting light. I stumbled back, hardened my throat, and taped the hole shut again, this time with duct tape. And next day, I went to the library, digging through old records about the building. It had been a boarding house in the 1920s, home to sailors and drifters. In 1927, a woman named Eleanor Gray vanished from her room on the top floor, my floor. The papers said she was a recluse, rarely seen, but neighbors reported hearing her singing at night, her voice echoing through the walls. The official report called it a runaway case, but a handwritten note in the margins of one article caught my eye. They never checked the walls. I felt sick. Back at the apartment, I knocked on Mrs. Callahan's door. She invited me in, her apartment cluttered with doilies and faded photos. I told her about the whispers, the hole, the scratching. Her face paled, and she set her knitting down. "You shouldn't have looked," she whispered. "Eleanor, she doesn't like being disturbed." "Eleanor Gray?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "The woman who disappeared?" Mrs. Callahan nodded, her eyes darting to the ceiling. "She never left. They sealed her in, Lucas. The walls, they didn't want anyone to know." I laughed, thinking it was a ghost story, but her expression stopped me cold. "Sealed her in?" I pressed. "Who?" She shook her head. "The landlord back then. He was involved with her. When she tried to leave, he made sure she couldn't. They say she's still there, trapped, angry." I didn't believe in ghosts, but the hole in my wall wasn't a hallucination. That night, I set up my phone to record audio, hoping to catch the whispers. At 3:14 a.m., it did. My name, over and over, mixed with words I couldn't make out, something about stay and mine. But there was another sound, fainter, like fabric rustling, then a sharp crack, like wood splintering. I played the recording for Mrs. Callahan the next morning. She crossed herself and told me to move out. "She's waking up," she said. "You've stirred her." I wanted to dismiss it, but the fear in her eyes was real. I asked if she'd heard anything herself. She hesitated, then admitted she'd heard singing, faint and mournful, coming from the walls for years. "But I don't go looking," she said. "You should have left it alone." I couldn't leave, not yet. My lease was ironclad, and I didn't have the money to break it. But I couldn't ignore the hole either. I bought a cheap endoscope camera, the kind plumbers use, and fed it into the wall. The screen showed a narrow space, dusty and cramped, with old wooden beams. Then the camera caught something, a bundle of cloth, stained and tattered, wedged between the beams. I zoomed in, and my breath caught. It wasn't just cloth. It was a dress, faded and yellowed, with a dark stain that looked like dried blood. I yanked the camera out, my hands shaking. I didn't know what to do, but I couldn't stay in that apartment. I called the police, showing them the footage. They were skeptical, but sent an officer to check. He tore away the drywall, revealing a hidden cavity. Inside was a skeleton, curled up, still wrapped in the remnants of that dress. The officer's face went white. "This is old," he said. "Decades old." They cordoned off the apartment, and I crashed at a motel. The police confirmed it was Eleanor Gray, identified by dental records. The official story was that she'd been walled up alive, her death covered up by the landlord at the time. Mr. Harrow was questioned, but he claimed ignorance. Though I noticed, he stopped meeting my eyes. I thought that was the end of it. The whispers stopped, and I found a new place across town. But a week after moving, I got a package. No return address, just my name scrawled in shaky handwriting. Inside was a locket, old and tarnished, with a faded photo of a young woman inside. I didn't recognize her, but something about her eyes felt familiar, like I'd seen them before. That night, the whisper started again. Not in the walls this time, but in my new apartment. "Lucas," they said, soft and insistent, "you found me." I checked the locks, the windows, everything. Nothing was out of place, but the air felt heavy, like someone was watching. I hid the locket in a drawer, but the whispers didn't stop. They followed me, night after night, growing louder, angrier. "You can't leave," they said. "You're mine." I went back to the old building, desperate for answers. Mrs. Callahan was gone, moved out, the new tenant said. I tracked down Mr. Harrow, who was packing his office, his face haggard. "You knew," I accused. "You knew she was in the walls." He didn't deny it. "My grandfather was the landlord back then," he said, his voice low. "He told me stories, said Eleanor was dangerous, obsessed. She'd lure men in, then hurt them. He stopped her, but she never really left." He handed me an old journal. Its pages brittle. "Read it, then burn it." The journal was written by Harrow's grandfather, detailing Eleanor's life. She wasn't just a recluse. She was a manipulator, charming men into her orbit, then turning on them when they tried to leave. The landlord had loved her, but when she attacked him, he panicked, sealing her in the walls to hide his crime. He claimed she'd cursed the building, vowing to claim anyone who lived in her room. I burned the journal, but it didn't help. The whispers followed me everywhere. My car, my workplace, even the coffee shop. I started seeing her shadow again. Not in windows, but in mirrors, doorways, the corner of my eye. I tried to move again, but every new place felt the same. The locket kept reappearing, no matter where I hid it. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I drove to the cliffs overlooking the ocean, the locket in my pocket. The whispers were deafening now, a chorus of, "Stay, Lucas, stay." I threw the locket into the sea, watching it sink beneath the waves. For a moment, there was silence. Then, a laugh, low, mocking, coming from behind me. I turned, but no one was there. The air grew cold, and I felt a hand brush my shoulder, light as a breeze, but heavy with intent. I don't know if Eleanor is still out there, or if I'm losing my mind. I've stopped moving, stopped running. The whispers are quieter now, but they're always there, waiting. I keep my lights on, my back close, and I don't look at shadows anymore, because I know, deep down, she's still watching.